Kagurabachi's story has had its praises sung endlessly by fans, and has found itself beginning to pop up in power scaling discussions more and more. One thing I've noticed, however, is that it seems another character is hogging the spotlight. So, we're going to put some respect on the name of our protagonist, Chihiro Rokuhira. In this video, we're going to go version by version to see just how strong he really is. First and foremost, Chihiro is a swordsman. He may have some knowledge of sorcery, but basic applications of sorcery outside of reinforcement or imbuing his blade with spirit energy are outside his realm of expertise. Fortunately for him, that's all he needs for the EI White Purity style, an esoteric sword drawing technique that maximizes speed with a massive learning curve. Before mastering this technique, Chihiro's first use of it was weaker, but most importantly, easy to calculate. We can create a solid baseline for his EI White Purity style speed with it. Special thanks to my good friend Blue for his calculations on screen. I'll link his Twitter in the description, and with this, we can give Chihiro supersonic plus speeds with his EI dash in his fight with Gouger. This is, of course, combat speed and not travel speed. So in base, Chihiro is already moving faster than sound. Can it get crazier? Well, piercing damage in Kagurabachi is treated as always effective. It was enough to fatally wound Tobimune Samura in Chapter 76, and has plenty of panels of Chihiro using his wakizashi to effortlessly put down sorcerers and yakuza alike. Unfortunately, durability is probably the hardest thing in Kagurabachi to scale because of this. Fortunately, we have a moment where Chihiro, without any enhancements from an enchanted blade, tanks a small building level attack. Chapter 3 shows Chihiro fighting a sorcerer who uses exploding darumas. Chihiro is able to tank these explosions, which are fully capable of blowing up a small building. And this is before Chihiro learns to remotely activate his enchanted blade. So yes, Enten being sheathed means he's not using Enten's abilities. Chihiro AP, unfortunately, is generally featless in base. Piercing damage is his only real saving grace, since we don't really see him without an enchanted blade much in the series. And for hacks, he has the Rokuhira eyes, which are basically this universe's equivalent of the Sharingan or the Six Eyes. If he can see it, if it can be replicated, he'll see it and replicate it. So to quickly summarize, Chihiro has supersonic plus speeds with the EI White Purity style. He has small building durability and no concrete AP scaling, but by technicality is capable of hurting anyone in his verse due to how piercing damage is treated in Kagurabachi. Moving on, we have Chihiro's time spent with Cloud Gouger. The broken enchanted blade automatically downscales from its complete form, giving Chihiro weaker scaling than Sojo, but still higher scaling than most sorcerers outside of top tiers like Yura, who could easily manhandle him. Unfortunately, none of that gives us numbers to work with. Until
May die as mine at my side. Shredded.
May Shred breaks through the limits of the dying blade, allowing Chihiro to access an even greater level of power. Chihiro was able to perception blitz the leader of the Hishaku, and forces him into sacrificing an arm to keep up. The power was even greater than Detensky Tenri, who was nearing the level of enchanted blade wielders and far beyond the realm of regular sorcery. The pinnacle of sorcery, Shiba, was on the back foot and about to lose to this version of Tenri until Chihiro saved him, meaning we can comfortably give Chihiro upscaling over all natural sorcery with May Shred. Through calculating Shiyumi's feats in the anti-Cloud Gouger versus Sojo fights in chapters 13 and 16, we can determine that Chihiro can upscale to small town levels in AP with May Shred. Shout out to my boy Blue on Twitter again, because he did these calcs on screen. Go show him some love after this video is done. This is not even ridiculous, as Sojo with a slightly charged May was going to level an entire city block if not stopped by Chihiro during their battle in chapters 8 through 10. This is where we can bring in the speed scaling of May Shred. May is consistently depicted to be a lightning bolt, and even stated by Chihiro, who gets his knowledge from the guy that made the blades, to be lightning itself. Shiyumi is capable of reacting to May, but when Sojo uses it to cloak, he perception blitzes the entire anti-Cloud Gouger team. We can conclude that Sojo's speed should be at minimum twice as fast in order for him to perception blitz, but since we don't have a concrete multiplier, we'll stick with 2 times as a multiplier. This gives Sojo's cloaking speed twice lightning speed, or Mach 1282 times 2, giving us Mach 2564 for his cloaking speed, otherwise known as Massively Hypersonic Plus. For lightning speed, I use the Versus Battle wiki number. If you want to scale them higher or lower, that's up to you. Now, Chihiro's Maze Shred speed should be semi-relative to Sojo's speed, but still slower considering Sojo's using the full blade, while Chihiro's using a broken version that's slowly dying. This will put Maze Shred at about the same speed as a certain other ability that another version of Chihiro has, and, again, Massively Hypersonic plus level of speed. For durability, it's an enchanted blade. It should be amping his durability, but we don't really see much of this version of Chihiro get hit. I mean, he gets kicked a couple times by Yura, right? But, I mean, he's like, it doesn't really seem to do much damage. It moves him. That's about it. He can definitely take harder hits, but not a lot of concrete scaling. I mean, we'll put him over a small building, obviously, but he's not large building level. Doesn't really have any hacks. I mean, we don't really, Kagurabachi did durability scaling is not really the greatest. So, piercing damage still kills him. For hacks, all we got is the Rokuhira eyes. And yes, he does have Ko and Yui, and he can create ice and summon water to spread Mei, but he doesn't have many use cases for these utility type abilities during his very short time using the blade. Again, small town AP, building level durability, massively hypersonic plus speed, and he still has the Rokuhira eyes, which are, I guess, a form of battle IQ hacks. And for notable abilities, he does have Ko and Yui, but not a lot of chances to use them. Finally, we move on to the most powerful version of Chihiro with the most scaling. You're all familiar with him, and I was waiting for this fight to wrap up before writing this portion. Now let's finally scale Enten Chihiro. Starting off with AP, we can use his battle with Samura to scale where he should be. In Chapter 82, Chihiro pours all of his strength with Nishiki into an EI White Purity style block to Samura's Suzaku amped White Purity style slash. He moves so fast that everything around Chihiro is breaking and going flying just from the speed alone, and yet Chihiro is able to block with Enten. He says in 83, if he attempted to counter, Samura would have taken an arm off, so we can't use this for durability scaling. Plus, as stated prior, piercing damage is generally treated as always effective. One of the few instances where narrative intent can be used objectively, and not to say Yujiro can beat Goku or something. Now, Samura, when fighting Hirohiko in Chapter 77, uses a White Purity style slash casually to dash through an entire building, repair it, and incapacitate Hirohiko. Now, Enchanted Blade wielders should be scaling around town levels of AP, given that Maze Shred Chihiro scales to small town level. It wouldn't make sense for users of a full Enchanted Blade to downscale the use of a broken and dying one. We can say that Samura, when fighting seriously, should upscale Maze Shred Chihiro. Following this line of scaling, Samura should scale up to large town level. Casually performing feats like that, and the collateral caused by his attempt to one-shot Chihiro, tells us that this is a reasonable line of scaling. As such, current Chihiro should scale to that level of AP for being able to clash blades with him, but a little lower. Chihiro's obviously not at Samura's level yet, but they can still be on opposite sides of the same AP tier. Kuro and Kuro Shred are both powerful abilities that typically work on any enemy he fights, as they are also treated as piercing damage. Kuro Shred especially can be used in tandem with his regular slashes as a spirit energy chainsaw, and Chihiro didn't even use it to block the slash from Samura in Chapter 82. On top of that, he can use the Goldfish from Kuro to detect his surroundings. However, on top of that, the biggest determinant of Chihiro's stats is whatever Akka he's currently using. Akka is more than just an absorption ability. As we all know, Akka's true power is the ability to copy and absorb power one time. We've seen this used to massively amp Chihiro's AP with Akka Flamebone and Akka Suzaku. We've seen him make use of Akka Crow to teleport. We've seen Akka Mei be used to redirect lightning, making himself a lightning rod. It's a very powerful ability, with the most concrete Akka scaling being for Akka Suzaku, which buffs Chihiro's EI White Purity style slashes to even begin putting pressure on Samura. Should we see a combination of Akka Suzaku, Kuro Shred, and Nishiki with his EI White Purity style, It may very well be one of the deadliest attacks we've seen in the entire series. But we're not scaling hypotheticals right now. As for his durability, he obviously upscales the previous versions of himself. Through a certain ability I've yet to touch on, and his absorption power Akka, he can raise his effective durability massively. We cannot quantify by how much, but we do have the feat of him tanking Sojo's city block, destroying Mei in chapters 9 through 10. While Chihiro was severely damaged, and this is a much weaker version of Chihiro, we can say that he would be able to take that Mei in his current iteration with significantly less damage. Samura, again, I have a power scale video for Samura, has at a low ball range building scaling. At the time, I did call it a high ball, but that was because I was honestly scared that I'd get called a Samura glazer. And if we're being real, Samura's durability scaling from what we've seen since should put him in city block as well. Plus, once again, Samura still upscales everything we've seen from Chihiro. He damaged Chihiro's hand so badly he could barely hold Enten and put a time limit on him for how long in the fight he could last before he inevitably passed out. Current Chihiro should reasonably scale in durability to large building level, but in Kagurabachi, piercing damage is treated as always effective, so this doesn't particularly matter if he's fighting a swordsman. Now, onto the fun thing to scale, Chihiro's speed. We have 2 fights we're going to use for his speed scaling. Let's start with the more complicated one, Chihiro versus Sojo, round 2. Chihiro at this point is severely weakened, albeit minorly healed. He just awakened new uses of Nishiki and Kuro, but he won't be able to last long in a serious fight with Sojo for long. When he fights Sojo, he's using Mei Cloaking. As we went over before, his Mei Cloaking speed is at a low ball Mach 2564. Chihiro is able to keep up with Sojo, albeit remaining slower, and when Sojo doubles his spirit energy being poured into his cloaking, Chihiro responds with tripling his. We need to take something vital into account here. Chihiro tripled the amount of spirit energy his body could handle. Mind you, it's barely been much time in universe since using Nishiki to enhance his speed had him doubling over in pain. What this version of Chihiro can handle is incredibly lowered compared to normal. Still, his 3x Nishiki speed is faster than Sojo's 2x Mei speed, albeit not by much, since Sojo could still react. If Sojo was moving twice as fast, that's Mach 2564 times 2, which equals Mach 5128. Chihiro upscales this speed by a marginal amount, so his speed is some unknown amount greater than this. Now, take into account the fact that the Chihiro performing this feat is missing an arm, is injured, and is far less synchronized with Enten than the current Chihiro. As of Chihiro's last appearance in Chapter 85, he has much greater command over Nishiki than this one. He's evolved his swordplay massively, leading to deeper access into Enten's true realm, and he's at full HP. Chihiro in this state is, without contest or argument, stronger than his Chapter 17 counterpart. The keyword in his 3x Nishiki feat is handle, the amount he could handle. And what Chihiro could handle then and what he can handle now are incredibly different. If you want proof, look no further than Chapter 59 and the narrative intent behind Chihiro getting one shot by Samura. Yes, we're using narrative intent again. Chihiro gets one shot and perception blitzed by Samura, unable to do anything. Hokozona wanted to establish how much of a threat Samura is. If Chihiro went 3x, the result here would not be different due to the narrative intent behind the scene. The speed difference as well as the skill difference needed to be closed by Chihiro learning and getting a stronger grasp on the EI White Purity style, as well as revelations surrounding the truth of the Seitei War. Chihiro tripling his Nishiki at the time would not have changed the outcome because, again, narrative intent is always the actual defining factor in a fight. And if we look at Chihiro versus Samura, he's keeping up with Samura even when his hand is damaged down to the bone. Blow for blow, Samura is unable to overpower him like he did before. Chihiro's determination as well as his evolution with Enten makes him an opponent Samura is unable to defeat in an all-out battle. Each attack he intends to kill Chihiro, yet each attack is countered or parried. All of this to say, current Chihiro's Nishiki speed scales over Chapter 17 3x Nishiki Chihiro, without factoring in his newly found proficiency with the EI White Purity style. Therefore, we can put Chihiro's speed in still massively hypersonic plus. The EI White Purity style only adds a couple machs to his speed, if that, and we don't really know how much Suzaku adds, so we can't give him the needed almost 4,000 mocks to put him a tier above into sub-relativistic. All right, hold on. I'm gonna try something. But bingo! Chihiro should be able to triple his spirit energy. If he tripled his Nishiki with the EI White Purity style, he would be moving at sub-relativistic speeds. Dear watcher, I once again raise you narrative intent. Chihiro chooses not to do this ever again, and I want you to think about why. It was a one-time, I need this, otherwise I will die situation where Chihiro was fighting to kill. Chihiro obviously isn't fighting to kill Samura, and even if he was, Hokusono is obviously not going to write that in. It would be an immediate wash and kill all tension. Now, ignoring the out-of-universe stuff, Chihiro has his whole monologue in chapter 78 about overusing spirit energy and being unable to move afterwards. It's a pointless gamble for power scale points. But I'm just going to put in parentheses that a hypical 3x current Chihiro would be sub-relativistic anyways. Happy? Okay, let's move on to an actually new hacks that isn't the Rokuhira eyes. Enten, as we learned in chapter 83, is a blade forged with the purpose to create a new future for the world without the enchanted blades. Enten's true realm, in accordance with the intent behind its making, has the power to destroy the other enchanted blades. Shiba and Samura in this chapter talk about the aftermath of the Seitei War and Kunishige's attempts to destroy all the enchanted blades. It wasn't just Magatsumi. Rather, all enchanted blades were unable to be destroyed. From how Samura describes it, we can infer that attempts to destroy the enchanted blades included using the other blades. It's also stated multiple times throughout the story that these blades are indestructible. Yet, Enten can and has broken enchanted blades before. This leads to arguably the greatest ability of Enten, durability negation. Yeah, I'm serious. Enten's true realm being able to destroy indestructible objects gives it durability negation when tapping into the true realm. Chihiro has yet to hone this ability fully, as he has only necked Tobimune and struggled to even do that. But it's an ability he has access to nonetheless. To recap, Chihiro's scaling with Enten is as follows: large town AP, city block durability, massively hypersonic plus speed, Rokuhira eyes, and durability negation hacks. And that just about wraps it up. Thanks for sticking to the end, and all the love on my Enten and Magatsumi video. Honestly, I am so floored by all the support I got on that one. I've got some more stuff I'm working on right now, and hopefully I can get it out soon. Hollow Knight Silk Song is coming out, and that is probably going to throw a wrench in my future plans since I have waited way too long to put off rapidly consuming every bit of content that game has to offer. Hopefully, you guys can remain patient with me for that. With that said, I'm Bingle, otherwise known as Artist Furia, and I hope you guys have a damn good one.